Let me now welcome to the podium General Minister of National Defense of Vietnam.
Dr. TRANH CHİP, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the high-level defense delegation of Vietnam, I would like to sincerely thank the government, the Minister of Defense of Singapore, and the organizers of this 13th Shangri-La Dialogue for giving me the opportunity to attend and address this plenary session. Ladies and gentlemen, at the outset, we wish to express our high appreciation of Japan's positive pacifism articulated by Prime Minister Shinzo Abe last night. At this forum in 2013, Prime Minister Nguyễn Tấn Dũng of Vietnam conveyed a message to the international community on strategic trust, which underlined that trust is the beginning of all friendships and cooperation. The remedy that works to prevent calculations that would risk conflicts. Trust must be treasured and nurtured constantly by concrete, consistent actions in accordance with common norms and with a sincere attitude. Looking back after 1 year, we note that region and the world still see tensions and latent dangers of conflicts or wars, as we witness with every passing day, every passing hour through the media. Therefore, trust building is ever more imperative in face of the current regional and world situation. Management of strategic tension is an essential issue relating to peace, stability, and development of countries, of the region, and the entire world. It is the common desire of the international community and the interest of all countries. That is also the topic that I was requested to speak about it, and today I wish to share with you this topic. Ladies and gentlemen, overall, the regional and world landscape today sees the major trend of peace, cooperation, and development. But complex, latent, unforeseeable developments still remain. Tensions, religious and ethnic conflicts, secessionism, local wars, territorial disputes, local political riots, intervention, attempts for regime change, terrorism are going on in an acute manner. Elements that threaten non-traditional security are on the rise, such as high-tech crimes in the areas of finance, monetary, electronic, telecommunication, biotechnology, and environment. The Asia-Pacific region enjoys dynamic development, high growth, and is a destination of choice for global investors. However, there exist tensions in the Korean Peninsula, sovereign disputes in the East China Sea and East Sea, which are the factors that may put peace and stability in the region at stake. The causes of these problems lie in the contradiction and conflict of interest that lead to the suspicion on goodwill and trust in relations and cooperation, the friction of interest in strategic competition and actions of mutual containment. In addition, there are also contradictions and differences in culture, religion, ethnicity, and ideology. And parties concerned have yet to find effective solutions. The common desire of countries in the world, including Vietnam, is the sustained maintenance of a peaceful and stable environment and joint efforts for development and prevention of conflicts and wars. I believe that to manage dangers of conflict, we must first and foremost have a common understanding. In upholding international responsibility, especially the role and responsibility of major powers, countries must have the responsibility to preserve the environment of peace, stability, and cooperation for common development, must observe the international law, the UN Charter, respect countries' independence, sovereignty, and territorial integrity, not use or threat of force to settle disputes. It is necessary to enhance various aspects of cooperation on the basis of equality, mutual respect, and benefits, big or small countries alike. With that common understanding in place, we will have the solid foundation to build trust. Trust is not just reflected in words, rather it must be displayed by concrete, meaningful actions to promote transparency, equal dialogue, openness, development of friendship and cooperation among countries, respect for the rule of law and norms in international relations. Major countries have the responsibility and role for, as well as important contributions to make the development and enhancement of strategic trust. In reality, in each nation, even each family, there are contradictions and differences, let alone neighboring countries with border territorial disputes that may lead to frictions. What matters is high-level leaders of countries must remain extremely calm, exercise restraint, place national interest in the context of the interest of the region and the world, and make the choice of peaceful solutions via diplomatic negotiations in order to maintain friendly relations among countries. In settling any contradiction or dispute, parties concerned must exercise self-restraint, remain calm, understand the true nature of the problem in an objective manner in order to make decisions on the basis of objectivity and cautiousness. A minor mistake may turn tension into conflict. In handling tension in relations among countries, the army must restrain, control tightly, manage all activities of each and every commander, soldier, those in charge of directing weapons, equipment, combat vehicles, ships, and airplanes. In management of strategic tension, communication has an extremely important role to play. The broadcasting of news must be honest, objective, timely, constructive, in the interests of the nation. Communication should create an environment conducive to the peaceful settlement of contradictions and conflicts. We must avoid using instigating language, let alone inciting national hatreds and making the situation become tenser, or creating pressure for leaders in considering and making decisions in handling the situation. To control and minimize the danger of conflict, we must make good use of cooperation mechanisms, both bilateral and multilateral. Issues related to two countries need to be settled bilaterally. Those involving multi-countries or multi-parties must be settled multilaterally. In the process of settling contradictions and differences, These contradictions and differences must be made public, transparent to the international community, thus avoiding misunderstanding or casting doubt to the public opinion. At present, we have in place such regional mechanisms such as ARF, Council for Security Cooperation in the Asia-Pacific, CSAP, the EAS, ADMM, ADMM+, the ARF, the Maritime Forum, as well as this Shangri-La dialogue, which provide important frameworks for trust building, promotion of preventive diplomacy, and finding measures for conflict management. Ladies and gentlemen, relations between Vietnam and the friendly neighboring country of China have seen overall strong growth. Outstanding issues include disputes over the sovereignty in this sea and frictions from time to time, such as the incident on the 1st of May 2014. China unilaterally placed its deep-water drilling rig Haiyan 981 in the continental shelf of Vietnam, an exclusive economic zone of Vietnam, causing anger for the Vietnamese people and concerns for the countries in the region and the international community. It is our clear awareness that struggling to protect territorial sovereignty is sacred. Vietnam consistently pursues the policy of persevering with the settlement of disputes via peaceful means on the basis of international law, particularly the 1982 UNCLOS, the Declaration on Conduct of Parties in the South China Sea, DOC, ASEAN 6-point principle statement, and moving towards the establishment of the Code of Conduct, COC, between ASEAN and China. The agreement between high-level leaders of Vietnam and China. Our policy is to preserve peace, stability, maritime security, safety, and freedom of overflight in this sea, maintain political stability, and improve living standards of the people, and preserve the traditional friendship between the people of Vietnam and China via dialogues at various levels between various agencies with China in order to reduce tension. With that policy, Vietnam has exercised utmost restraint. We do not use airplanes or gunboats or missile boats. We only use maritime surveillance boats, our Coast Guard boats, our fishing vessels. We do not collide, or we do not use cannon guns against China's ships. We demand that China withdraw the oil rig out of the continental shelf and economic exclusive zone of Vietnam and negotiate it with Vietnam to maintain peace, stability, and friendship between the two countries, which is beneficial to the two countries, to peace, stability of the region and the world. We believe that the army of the two countries must exercise utmost restraint, strengthen cooperation, tightly control all activities, avoid activity that may get out of control. The two countries' armies must play the advisory role to the parties and states leaders to satisfactorily settle the issue in a calm and patient fashion in order to avoid conflicts or wars. Vietnam has been proactive and positive in engaging in defense and cooperation with ASEAN countries, as well as participating in joint exercises on search and rescue, humanitarian assistance, and natural disaster relief, establishing hotlines among ASEAN countries. On the 8th of June 2014, Vietnam and the Philippines will organize exchanges among forces stationed in the islands of Song Tử Đông and Song Tử Tây, Northeast Cay, or Southeast Cay, of Trường Sa, or Spratly Islands, in order to strengthen friendship and build trust, as well as reducing tension in the region. We hope that common efforts of the international community will help step-by-step settle contradictions, differences, and maintain stability and development in the region, as well as contributing to the peaceful global environment. In conclusion, I wish to again convey to you the message of the Vietnamese government and people That is, with the tradition of peace and friendship and peace-loving, Vietnam stands ready to be a friend, reliable partner of all countries in the international community, and on the basis of respect for independence, sovereignty, for mutual benefits, and work together to build a world of peace, prosperity, cooperation, and development in the Asia-Pacific region and the world. I wish you all good health, and I thank Mr. President and you all.
Thank you, General Tan, for your very clear statement of Vietnam's policy in the current environment, and for your call, repeating that of the Prime Minister last year, for building through whatever means possible strategic trust in the region. I'll now open up the floor to points of comment and debate. Let me remind you that there are two steps that need to be taken to get the floor. One is to put your name card in the slot. The second is to press the microphone button so that your microphone turns green. It will not be on until I turn it red, but unless you press the button, you're not on my list. The first of about a dozen who are at present on the list is Tadashi Maeda from Japan.
Thank you, John. On the maritime securities of South China Sea, it started as a bilateral issues on territorial disputes, for example, between Vietnam and China. But it should not be only a bilateral issue; should be solved among the multilateral nations. But as a Defense Minister of Malaysia this morning said that it is pretty tough to make the legally binding code of conduct between China and ASEAN, but there's no other alternatives. I think that it is true. But China is a growing power of the centralized control. On the other hand, the ASEAN is composed of 10 countries, and there's a different domestic agenda in each member country of ASEAN. So it is quite difficult to keep the solidarity and integrity of ASEAN. So in this regard, my question is both to the Defense Minister of Indonesia and Defense Minister of Vietnam, how the outside power like Japan or Australia or the United States can play the role more proactively to foster and cement the solidarity of ASEAN in this regard. Thank you.
Next is Professor Robert Asen of New Zealand.
Thanks very much. My question is mainly for Australian Defence Minister Johnston. It was interesting in your comments how similar your comments about the importance of respect for international law, freedom of navigation, the avoidance of coercion and intimidation were to the comments that were made by Prime Minister Abe last night and by Secretary Hagel this morning. There's a very common theme there. And obviously there's a real interest in avoiding the types of coercive behaviour that Defence Minister Tan was talking about this morning. But I'm just wondering whether you feel that in the protection of those norms and the assertion of those norms of freedom of navigation and overflight, of respect for those laws, where in fact it's possible for there to be, in a sense, a perception of a lack of restraint, that the defence of those norms becomes, in a sense, a bit too assertive in kind. And how do you actually deal with that to make sure that the defence of those norms is actually reassuring to countries like China?
And from Australia, Professor Carlisle Thayer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My question is to the Vietnamese Minister of National Defense, Phùng Quang Thanh. In your presentation, you stressed the importance of high-level leaders. I was in Vietnam when this oil rig crisis began, and Vietnam wanted to activate a hotline. It proposed a special envoy to China. It offered to send its party secretary general. You met your counterpart in Naypyidaw. The Vietnamese foreign minister has contacted by phone his counterpart. Can you give us an assessment of where we're at between China and Vietnam actually getting together to meet bilaterally to mitigate these current tensions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And the next is William Chung, the ISS.
Thank you, John. I'd like to follow up with a question on Vietnam. Now, this oil rig crisis, we can say that the Chinese do have a claim to these waters, given that some commentators have said that oil rig is located 17 nautical miles from Woody Island. Now, given that Minister Phùng had said repeatedly about the rule of law and refrained from the use of force, will Vietnam go the Philippine route by taking this entire episode, this dispute, to third-party arbitration? Thank you.
From the United States, Jed Snyder.
The minister from Indonesia has very helpfully reminded us of a decision taken some years ago for ASEAN to look towards a more genuine approach towards a security policy community by next year. The Australian Defence Minister reminds us of how long it takes for real multilateral defence cooperation to materialize, and the Minister from Vietnam has made the point that strategic competition is growing and there are existing organizations attached to ASEAN which could be used to address this. My question for whomever on the panel would like to address it is this: what can we expect by 2015, realistically, as evidence that ASEAN's approach to security planning and policy has actually changed, or is that a bridge too far?
And